Michels Affair is an R&B-rooted cinematic soul ensemble led by New Yorker Leon Michels. Michels has been active since 2005, creating a catalogue of charismatic, groove-orientated jazz, funk, Afrobeat and more. Leon Michels has worked in numerous high-profile sessions for the likes of Mark Ronson, Chicano Batman and Lana Del Rey. You're tuned in to Roots to Grooves.
Welcome back, everybody, to Roots to Groove.
Woo woo, raise the roof. Woo woo.
I am Jay Purcell.
I'm Jesse Quigley. That makes this Roots to Grooves. We are happy to be back. We were talking about Michels Affair. How's everybody doing today?
How you doing?
Good to have you on. I'm good, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I should be able to count the episodes so I know what episode we're on right now. And unless we really balls up an episode and it doesn't get released, which has only happened like 3 times with our certain artists that we've tried to talk about.
Our worst episode. I mean, it was a good episode, but just as far as producing it and getting it released.
Who was the artist?
Warpaint?
Oh, that one didn't come out yet.
That one.
No, the other one.
Who are you talking about?
You know, the artist that we keep recording an episode for and we have technical issues and it never comes out.
Oh, I thought that was Warpaint.
No,
that one was just technical.
That one was just, I was really drunk towards the end and it was like, you were talking about things and I was just like, and I can't I can't bring because I edit these videos as well and the audio. I can't bring myself to see me being a dick on camera just yet. It's very cringeworthy.
We got to
gives
come
me
to terms
anxiety.
with it. I feel that. I feel that. I can't remember who the other one is.
The singer from the UK. Yeah, you can't remember.
We'll think about it later.
It's like when we're gonna fuck up, we know we reel out the artist name. It's like, it's not gonna be another episode, is it?
Yeah.
Another situation. But now we can't remember it, so that's great. We're blanking on now.
Good.
Wonderful.
It's meant to be not remembered.
Exactly.
Not to be viewed.
It will never come out. But yeah, I think we're in our 50s though. We're up there in the 50s.
By the time this comes out, we're after 50.
Yeah,
And
after 50.
We'll let you know on the socials because we're gonna have a celebration for it. We're gonna have to celebrate that.
Yeah.
It's good to celebrate things, celebrate life.
When we get to 100, it'll be like, whoa, we've done 100 episodes.
That's the goal. After that, got to get to 1,000.
Yeah. You said to me before your goal is at least 1,000.
We got to get to 1,000.
At least 1,000
Otherwise,
episodes.
we're just counting pennies, Like
exactly, yeah. But Michels Affair this week on Roots to Grooves has been described as cinematic soul,
R&B root.
Yeah, elegant retro soul, funk, soul, hip hop, jazz. I mean,
yeah, I would say rooted in R&B, and kind of funk,
yeah,
grooveability.
Yeah.
But they synthesized like vintage groove oriented jazz.
Yeah.
And soul.
Yeah.
Funk.
Yeah.
I saw one thing that said rock steady. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, that's more of like a reggae thing, rock steady.
Okay. Yeah. So they do have some rock or reggae kind of influence stuff.
A little bit, yeah.
100%. Yeah. It is in there though, as minimal as it is, and then Afrobeat.
Yeah.
And even hip hop.
Yeah.
As we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see.
In a big way.
Yeah.
So so I mean basically L. Michels.
Yeah.
This is the dude.
Leon Michels, yeah.
It's a guy, right?
Yeah.
Leon.
He's basically the band leader, producer, plays saxophone, flute, keys, guitar, bass, percussion. He engineers, he produces. It's basically his project. He does have a lot of other musicians that collaborate with him on these albums, including some of the people. Homer Steinweiss, he's a great drummer. He plays with Mannerheim Street Band, couple of other groups. I think that drummer also has created a band with one of the guys from the Black Keys as well. So
okay, and I know Michels has worked with Black Keys.
Yeah, and Thomas Brennick is another person of note who does guitar and bass sometimes. He is also like a big guitarist that played on Charles Bradley records, Mannerheim Street Band as well. Budos Band. He's the
Budos.
guitarist in Budos Band as well. Yeah.
And I like that guitar work in Budos Band.
Yeah, and a bunch of other people. Great like keys, trumpet, brass, keys, brass, bass, guitar, keys, brass. People.
Yes. So I mean, let's dive in because this is an interesting fellow.
Yeah.
And this band is really cool.
Yeah.
So this was a J pick.
Yeah.
By our own J Purcell.
Thank you. Yeah.
So good pick. Fun music, good music, solid musicianship.
Yeah.
Been around for a while.
Yeah.
First stuff coming out in early or late 2000s, 2010s. What do you call those? The aughts?
Is it the noughties?
The knots? The aughts? I've seen aughts.
I think we called it. Oh, is it the night? No, the 90. We called it the noughties in England when it hit 2000.
2000 to 2010 is the naughties.
We called it the noughties in
The
England.
naughties. Yeah. Here come the naughties.
Yeah.
Look out.
Exactly. Yeah. Look out. That fucking millennium bug didn't get you. The noughties will.
Yeah. Y2K. Watch out.
That's by the way, that's not been the first reference to Y2K. You mentioned Y2K on like a episode some way back.
I'm a 90s baby.
There you
baby.
Go. Yeah. So that's the first thing you remembered is like the world's going to come to an end because computers can't figure out numbers or something.
I was like, oh, what was I born into?
And then nothing happened. It was anticlimactic, is what I remember.
My grandparents had a downstairs like closet stocked with cans and cans. Yeah.
Because of Y2K?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, specifically.
Wow.
So like low-key preppers.
Damn.
And then there's some serious preppers out there. But we're not talking about Y2K. I don't want to get off the...
Well, so El Michel's first actual album came out in 2005. But prior to that, a lot of singles, a lot of 12 inches. They call them 12-inch vinyl singles.
Yeah. Well, let's dive on back, because even before he came out with his original music, he was already a session musician.
Right. Yeah,
And so he started playing very early.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you know any of his childhood? When he first instruments, or was his family musical?
I don't know about his family, but I know his very first instrument was saxophone.
Okay, nice.
And his teenage years, he said he had a great schooling experience. He basically grew up in New York area. I'm not sure specifically
which
area,
borough,
which borough or whatever, but he did. He praises his teachers because he got introduced to a lot of like jazz music by his teachers, and was in jazz band in high school and stuff like that, and met some of his earliest collaborators whilst he was in high school, people that he still plays with as well. And yeah, it was just like a lot of sort of traditional jazz stuff. When he met the Budos Band guy, Thomas Brannick, because he's known him for a really long time as well, probably like Budos Band formation time period as well.
Budos Band brethren.
Yeah. Those guys introduced him to a lot of like the deep funk side of things as well. So he was into like, let me see. I want to get this correct, because he did mention some jazz musicians. I'm doing the search.
A rare
search jazz.
Mid-air, on-air search.
Okay, so one of his teachers put him onto artists like Benny Carter, Benny Goodman, Johnny Hodges, Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington is like one of the only ones I really recognize out of that list of people.
Yeah, he's a big name.
Yeah, and so in the 5th or 6th grade, he said he was pretty obsessed with jazz.
Nice. Okay, so he has a strong foundation.
Yeah.
For jazz.
Yeah.
And groovy.
Yeah.
Funk and stuff.
Yeah, and then so popular jazz from the 40s and 50s as well is what he would say that is. And then he got into James Brown and the Meters, from his friends Philip Lehman and Gabe Roth, who were from had a record label called Desco, which sounds like a really old label, but I think it was newish. See,
at the time.
These guys are like Manhattan Street Band, Budos Band, Daptone Records is like one of the labels, and Big Crown Records, which is associated with Daptone Records, and they have all these retro names, but I think they specifically called themselves something like that was harking back to the types of record labels that you would see written on old 45 records from like the deep funk era of like the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. So and these labels really are embracing that old gritty sound as well. So so when I first heard of it on Michels Affair, I think I heard Enter the 37th Chamber, which we can talk about in a little bit. But it was one of those albums that I was just like, this sounds straight out of, like, is this a French guy from the 60s or 70s and it's been reissued? That's what I thought. But no, it's this new guy on the scene releasing music now.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. So
I mean, there's basically 4 or 5 LPs that he's released under El Michels Affair.
Yeah.
And I mean, up until 2021.
Yeah.
Just to give everybody an idea. First album came out 2005.
Yeah.
Let me slow down a little bit. I'm trying to rush my words.
All right.
2005, the first album came out. The latest album came out 2021. And there's been a lot of time in between.
Yeah.
This guy's prolific, though. He's working on a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
From what I was reading, throughout his discography, he'd have a bunch of ideas and he'd be like,
yeah,
this would be a cool idea for El Michels Affair.
Yeah.
But then he would end up giving it away to these other artists.
Yeah.
So he's kind of ghostwriting, I guess you could say, or just writing, producing for other artists.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's for his own band.
Yeah.
So anyway, early life, has a background in jazz.
Yeah. Jazz band in high school. Yeah.
And I can't connect every single little dot to how he got there, but in his teens, he was playing in the Mighty Imperials.
Yeah.
Which is a band called Meters.
Yeah.
Inspired house band.
Yeah.
And that was for a Brooklyn-based record label called Soul Fire.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Soul Fire or Soul Fire label.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he was like literally 16 years old at this time, and he built a reputation for balancing. I was reading this. It said humor and deep emotion with the raw, bottom-heavy production aesthetic. But anyway, he was playing saxophone for Raekwon,
Yeah.
like when he was in his teens.
Yeah. Yeah.
He played saxophone with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings.
Yeah.
And real quick, just want to head it. What does DAP mean? Because there's DAP tones, there's DAP Kings. What's DAP?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like a hip term that I'm not hip to.
Yeah, okay.
Right. That's
I'm not hip enough either then.
DAP.
I'm not dapped up. Yeah, like dap me up, like, baseball players, like give me a high
I
five.
think so, yeah. Yeah. Something like that.
Okay. Anyway, let us know
Yeah.
if you guys got some interesting, what do you call it? The
Nomenclature.
Yeah. Vernacular.
Vernacular.
But so cool. But yeah, so he's playing sax for Raekwon.
Yeah.
He's playing with Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings when he's still a teenager.
Yeah.
I guess he was Raekwon's favorite session musician.
Yeah.
So I read.
Yeah.
And then he was working with everybody from Beyonce and Jay-Z
Yeah.
to the Black Keys, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So this guy's a young lad with a lot of talent, working with huge artists.
Yeah.
Kind of right off the bat.
Well, it's interesting how some of those big names come about, because some of them he's worked directly with and some of them he hasn't, even though he's credited to have been working with them.
As some kind of ghostwriting or production work.
Well, let me tell you about this. After
I'm excited.
his very first release under Leon Michels Affair, 2002, 12-inch single, final single. Can't find this anywhere online. You can find it on YouTube. You can't find it on Spotify or Bandcamp.
Anywhere.
I guess YouTube is considered a music streaming platform at this point of sorts, even though there's a video component to it. This came out on the Soulfire label, that you mentioned. And it came out as a 12-inch in 2002. And I think it's pretty long because it says part 1, so there might have been a side A and a side B, and it was like continued sort of thing. But let me mute whatever is playing in the background so I can play this thing instead.
All right.
Yeah, sneaking that in there. Very first release from Michels Affair under that name. Came out as a 12-inch final single on Surefire.
And that's called Easy Access?
Yeah, easy access. But it's not so easy access on the internet unless you have YouTube, which I know is very hard to gain access to. So
You gotta log in and you gotta have internet.
you know, the bad thing about YouTube music is like unless you pay for it, you can't close the app and just listen to the music.
Yeah.
That's a little thing, a little gotcha that they have there.
Yeah. Come on, YouTube.
Come on, YouTube. But so he was putting out like a bunch of these sort of singles, and he was still had the Mighty Imperials as a group with his two sort of like high school buddies kind of thing. They continued, and he still plays with them to this day. They still appear on El Michels records kind of thing and collaborate with him. But so basically, like he was doing all this through the noughties up to 2010. I think this is a guy that has a lot of like good networking or just in the scene sort of thing.
Right.
Because he worked on the first release, I think it was on Big Crown Records for this singer called Lee Fields. And Lee Fields is like this like singer, soul singer that has been around since the 60s. Like his first single was out in 69. This guy had worked with Kool and the Gang and a bunch of other people. A lot of people say that he sounds a lot like James Brown. So they call him Little JB. Is like a nickname, this guy.
Lil JB.
Yeah. But so like Leon like worked on a track for Big Crown Records for Lee Fields, and it caught the ear of Dan Arbuck from Black Keys. Dan Arbuck cold called Leon and was like, we're going on tour and we're looking for like a live bass player and a keyboardist to join the band to go on tour with, kind of thing. And so they asked him to play bass, and that's how he got involved. Like went on tour with the Black Keys, which is, you know, they're a big band, right? They're like, we haven't talked about them yet. They're like
no, but they've been around for a while. They've been prolific.
Yeah.
And even just in the last 10 years of their band odyssey, have they reached a higher level of success than they ever have.
And they're just a duo, guitars and drums, like the White Stripes, right?
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
I think they had some beef with the White Stripes for a little while.
Did they? Because of that?
each other's ideas and being a little similar in some ways.
Just because it's a guitarist and a drummer. It's like,
I don't think there's that many similarities. I think it was
no. But
no merit.
Yeah, so he went on tour, and it was through that tour that he met Raekwon, I think. Is how that came about. And then we got to talk about the Wu-Tang connection, right? Because this is kind of crazy.
So this happens pretty early on in the career. But did we already talk about that first album?
Oh yeah, no, actually, yeah. Let's before we get there. Yeah, you're right. 2005, Sounding Out the City.
Yeah.
I opened up tonight with a track off of that album called Musings to Myself. And it was all original album by Leon with a few like guest musicians and stuff like that. And it's, I don't know if you heard it, but it's great. Like, you know, we just played that first track and it's very consistently like deep funk, soul, you know, jazzy, horns, all instrumental. There's no vocalists on it.
Right. This is the album I started listening on.
Yeah.
I started here and went up from there.
Yeah.
And very good, very consistent all the way through.
Yeah.
The horn section, brass section, whatever you want to call it, kind of leading the way as far as
melody
and kind of taking over the vocal part of, if a band had a vocalist.
Right.
And it's an instrumental act and kind of that, those horns, that sax, trombone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a trumpet in there. It's a whole brass section, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But great all the way through. Sounding Out the City, 2005, 11 songs.
Yeah.
Straight, all original music. Did he write it all or did he have collabs?
He wrote it all, but I think, and I'm not sure about this album, but like, definitely all of the albums, I didn't hear specifically about this album, but all of the others, I definitely heard the fact that he gets musicians together and they jam. Mm-hmm. And that's where the songs come from, kind of thing.
Right. He's kind of curating the band.
Yeah.
and then seeing what happens and kind of producing what happens,
Yeah.
helping that idea move along into.
Yeah. I guess we could talk about that now, his approach a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
It's very interesting to me. So he said, like, very early on, when he was still a teenager, he got gifted, and this is not a 4-track club. He's slightly more elevated. It's not computers. It's not 4-track cassette tape. It's in between this piece of machinery called the Tascam 388. It's a picture on the screen right now.
Look at it. Beautiful.
Jesse will see this in 9 months' time.
I'm learning about this with you guys in real time, in your real time.
So it's 8 tracks. It's got a mixer embedded in it, right? But instead of a cassette tape, it has the reel-to-reel tape in it. So it's better quality. He was gifted this machine, and he said he had it in his bedroom for the whole time. And that track we just played was recorded on that. And he recorded a lot of his early material on that machine. And he's since so like right now he said he has access to 2 recording studios, and they're both like analog equipment, vintage mics, reel-to-reel stuff kind of thing. And he also has the crappy 4-track tape.
That
thing as
old
well.
crappy
Yeah.
4-track. I hate those.
But here's the interesting thing is like, because his music sounds very organic and analog, right? But his process is basically he'll record everything on all these tape machines, and even reprocess things on other machines, and then eventually he does put it all into Pro Tools. And he said he's not a purist. He said like he still uses Pro Tools. Like he said he has no idea how he would be able to finish music just purely on tape. Like it would be way more complicated to do it that way.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, so he's using all of this gear, the outboard gear, rack units of effects, old vintage microphones, miking techniques, tape machines, and then he eventually does bring it all into Pro Tools to finish off the track sort of thing. So that's why like a lot of these jams are recorded with like sometimes just with one mic in the middle of the room kind of thing, and then he'll bring that into Pro Tools and then chop it up and do some extra sort of tweaking and arranging of music and things in that way. But the interesting thing he said about that is like he doesn't like to do more than 16 channels in Pro Tools of music.
That's
Like,
kind of his own cutoff.
yeah, he's just like any more than that, it gets more complicated. It's too much to deal with, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So to the point where he said like usually he only has like 2 mics on the drums or 1. And he said there's been a time where they had like 5 mics on the drums, everything was mic'd up, but he still mixed it, processed it, and bounced it down to 2 channels. Because he doesn't want to mess around with like 5 channels of drums in his in Pro Tools kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's great. I mean, that's just a good point to throw out there that you, even if you have all of this extra information, you don't have to use it all. You can still distill it down to something that's more simple.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can still get professional quality results.
Exactly, yeah. Easier to work with and that. And so it's interesting. Yeah, he said he uses these analog tools for the sound, for the inspiration, for the vibe. But then he ultimately finishes everything digitally, kind of thing.
So kind of best of both worlds.
Yeah, best of both worlds. And he's also said he's started getting into Ableton, and coming up with like loops in Ableton and stuff like that. And it's funny because he's the only person I've heard say this, but I've said this a lot. Did you ever play Tetris at all, ever, on anything?
Casually a little bit.
Yeah.
I've definitely played it.
Did you play it so much that when you fell asleep, you dreamt of Tetris, like the blocks falling? Like
No, never that much.
Okay, yeah. I think I might have done that too much a little bit in my teenage years. Because he said his analogy of like Ableton was like that. He'd spend so much time, because Ableton is like, people don't know, it's very sort of colourful screen. 2 ways of working in it. There's like the timeline view and there's like the clip view. And the clip view are like these little blocks and stuff like that. So he said he'd spend so much time in Ableton building these loops that he would fall asleep dreaming about slicing audio and like arranging things and stuff like that. So it's very interesting that he comes from this analog thing, but he definitely embraces the digital, and he uses the best of both worlds to ultimately create the music, because he says musically he says it's always about the performance. Like that's what he's trying to capture. is the live feel of coming up with ideas or of hearing a song played out kind of thing. And so he takes that approach all the way through from beginning to end to mastering sort of thing. Keeping the live performance aspect as something that's very important throughout all of the steps kind of thing. So I just thought it was very interesting workflow.
I'm still on the dream thing. Because do I not do enough things to dream about them? Or I smoke too much weed at night and then I don't dream.
Just forget about it.
Maybe that's a good thing.
I think I think any repetitive task, right? I mean, playing Tetris is not a task, but it kind of is. But you have to work for it. But
how bad do you want it?
How bad you want those blocks? But yeah, no. If you spend any repetitive task, if you spend long enough doing it, I've done this with random things, processing images, playing Tetris. Not Ableton. I haven't spent enough time on Ableton to be dreaming about that. But
thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yeah, yeah. But anyway,
hopefully I don't wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat thinking about recording Roots to Grooves.
Yeah,
that'd be bad.
I do.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's like, did I say that on that podcast? Oh no. I'm just in a cold sweat now.
At least if you're worried about it, you can go onto YouTube and check out the video and see what you said.
Exactly. What did I say? But yeah, anyway, so I just thought it was a very interesting way of working. And yeah, so he that's how he puts together these albums. And I think he probably did that for Sounding Out the City as well.
Yeah, that's dope. Came out really good.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Cool album art too. Is that New York?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like a
skyline.
It's like the skyline's at the bottom of the album cover, and then it's the sky takes up most of the album, so it's very kind of far away and crisp and clean. Beautiful day with New York skyline in the background. Very fitting. Sounds good. I got a couple little house cleaning things. Side story as we're going along. Because Detroit Twice was also one of the early tracks. Yeah, I think released on Daptone's Misty subsidiary. Okay, I guess it was called Misty. Yeah, and then the founder of the former label sold his studio and equipment to Michels, and so Michels, with his partner Jeff Silverman, started the Truth and Soul label. Right. I'm trying to fit it into this timeline. I think it's around this time. Yeah. Maybe either just before this first album or second or right after. Yeah. Michels Affairs, Sounding Out the City was on Fast Life in 2005 originally. Yeah. And that's what it's on Spotify's 2005 release. I think that's on Fast Life. And then Truth and Soul's first LP was also Sounding Out the City with a subsequent 2006 pressing. But that's not on Spotify, so I don't know how that is, but I'm just saying what happened. Okay. If that makes sense. So side story done. Yeah. I think it's still around this time. Michels Affair was on stage backing Raekwon. Yeah. And then that sparked a tour. Yeah. With
the Wu-Tang Clan.
The Clan of the Wu.
So what happened is Leon said he had a friend that worked for Toyota, the car company. This is a very strange beginning to a story. He had a friend that worked for Scion/Toyota car company.
We're not sponsored by Toyota.
Again, though, Scion/Toyota.
But if you didn't...
if you're not driving a Prius, then you're not an Uber driver.
Then you're not driving.
Apparently they were doing these events, some marketing events Toyota was doing, where they'd have a band and an MC and a concert performance series sort of thing. So they were picking artists, doing these events, and having MCs backed up by live bands kind of thing.
It's a good idea.
So he said his record got into the hands of those people, and they paired him up with Raekwon as a musician and a band to do a concert. And that's how it went. And they did it. And it was fucking great. Nice. He pulled in his buddies, his musician buddies that he knows, to form the band to do the live backing stuff from Raekwon at this event, and they just all loved it. Raekwon loved it. Like he said, he's gone on to sort of call on Leon for doing other projects, other sessions and stuff like that. Right. And so they decided, because the concert went so well and the crowd was going crazy, they decided to put out a 45 of this track, Cream, Cream.
Like the band?
No, the song, Cream.
Okay. No, but I mean, that's band of the same name, right?
There is a band of the same name, but there's no relation.
No,
Yeah.
that's not what I meant to say. But
Yeah.
just, okay, we're on the same page, everybody. Sorry about that.
Yeah. And see, this is kind of sacrilegious of me or whatever to the viewers and listeners out there. I love Wu-Tang, what I've heard, and I love the stuff that the members have done. Mm-hmm. Adrian Young's also collaborated with a few people, I think, from Wu-Tang Clan, maybe. But I don't know enough about Wu-Tang Clan's back catalogue to be able to speak effectively enough about L. Michels Affair and this single they put out and the 2 albums they put out as well. Mm-hmm. All I think it's like a ode to, it's a homage to Wu-Tang Clan tracks that were already out there. Yeah, and I think they sort of redid them in a live way, and then got the participation of the members from the Wu-Tang Clan to like rap over it and stuff like that.
Yeah, as far as I understand, it was Raekwon like opening for Wu-Tang Clan. And El Michel was with Raekwon.
Yeah,
I got the impression that at some point, those connections connected all of those 3 together: El Michels, Raekwon, and Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, and that's what kind of sparked the culminated in the band's second album, Enter the 37th Chamber.
See, this is where my knowledge is lacking. I thought Raekwon was in the Wu-Tang Clan. Am I wrong about that? Or is he's his own artist?
Okay. You guys out in the audience are going to have to let us know.
I'm quickly looking at it.
Okay. If anybody...
Okay, he was in the Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah.
Okay, but he was... So Michels was working with Raekwon.
Yeah.
Member of the Wu-Tang Clan.
But
he was working on a
Toyota
Raekwon's separately from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
But as a member of the Wu-Tang Clan, Raekwon...
Yeah.
They made a connection.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they played some Wu-Tang Clan songs when they were doing the event.
So look at us. We just connected the dots.
Yeah.
Whew, I was getting sweaty right there. But we got
Cream, though, in this thing, it's CREAM spelled out with like periods in between each letter.
So that's the difference. Okay.
It stands for Cash Rules Everything Around Me. And it's...
True words.
It is a song that came out in 1993 on Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. So...
Yeah. So basically, Enter the 37th Chamber.
Yeah.
2009 on Fat Beats label. Was most of the songs are recreations of Wu-Tang tracks.
Yeah.
Re-envisioned through El Michels Affair stylings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What I know, Enter the 37th Chamber kind of drew from library music styling and Afrobeat influences. Which, you can definitely hear. So, I mean, library music, Afrobeat, Wu-Tang Clan, reimagined. Good stuff.
And to give people a taster, I'll play this track, Cream. I'm going to call it Cream instead of spelling it out.
We're lazy.
CREAM. So they recorded this first, put it out on a 45. The reaction to it was crazy. So they were like, well, let's continue and record a bunch of other tracks and create the album Enter the 37th Chamber. So let's just play this track that kicked it off, which will like inspire the creation of the rest of the album.
Cream.
CASH, Cash Rules Everything. A reinterpretation of the Wu-Tang Clan song by Michels Affair, instrumental only. And this whole album is instrumental only. He didn't actually get the guys from Wu-Tang on it, but they did do it live a few times. And he said there was a certain point where they played live when they had every member of Wu-Tang Clan performing with them live.
That's epic.
Which is epic, yeah.
Here's what I got.
Yeah.
We're talking about Enter the 37th Chamber.
Yeah.
Where the name came from.
Yeah.
It's a play on the Wu-Tang album, Enter the Wu-Tang, in parentheses, 36 Chambers.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's the reference. So Michels Affair is referencing we're the next level. We're taking it to the next step.
Yeah, yeah.
Not it's better than Wu-Tang or nothing like that, but just kind of going off the chronological order of numbers.
Yeah.
And they thought that was a good thing to do. And it does make sense.
Yeah.
So 37 chambers.
And then that was 2009. And then 2017, pretty a while later, he came out with another album, Return to the 37th Chamber, which again is like, I think, different tracks, different reinterpretations of different Wu-Tang Clan songs.
I think they're either Wu-Tang Clan tracks recreated or members of Wu-Tang Clan doing their own solo material.
Right.
And then those tracks reimagined and integrated into these Michels Affair album.
Yeah, yeah.
So second one, Return to the 37th Chamber.
Yeah.
Also great. Just more good stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. And so that's two albums in a row of not completely original Michels Affairs.
Yeah. And
tracks material.
So that's something people said, like, it wasn't until 2020, Adult Themes, that was the first original body of work from Michels Affair. So that was like 15 years.
Yeah.
With, not doing that. But he wasn't only, he was doing other things like we alluded to earlier.
That's what I was going to say. He was very hard at work and he had ideas for Michels Affair, but he would give them away to other artists who he was working with.
So like some of the artists, I think the biggest artist that he worked with directly was Lana Del Rey.
Okay, nice.
On her second album. It was so it was like her producer that got to know of Leon as well through the music he'd already put out and stuff like that. Totally aware of everything he was doing and his musicianship and everything like that, in Black Keys and Mannerheim Street Band and all these other things. And so he was like called upon as like a kind of a producer, but like studio musician for Lana Del Rey's second album. And he said that was a totally different experience. He said him and the producer were like, everyone in the room was like funk soul musicians. And it was kind of the antithesis of what Lana Del Rey wanted, which is very interesting. But he said that's why it came. That's why he thinks her second album worked so well, because of that sort of tension in the studio.
Right.
Of like, she wanted things to be like more like Nirvana or like certain things, but she was working with all these people that had all these sensibilities and like funk and soul and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was tension. He said that she'd like there'd be moments in the studio where she was literally crying, break down in tears over like the discussion and the debates over how certain songs should sound and be and stuff like that. But it all came together, sort of thing, and worked out, So, but that was like his biggest sort of high profile thing, I think, So that was a while that they were working on that album for. He also decided at a certain point that he was going to do. He was going to make samples for other producers, is like the way he put it, sort of thing. So coming up with loops, ideas. He said a lot of orchestral things, because he said he knows like a lot of trap producers or hip hop producers didn't want samples that had beats in them. So he'd come up with a lot of like orchestral things. And so there was like a certain track that he put out there, and these two producers got hold of it. They wouldn't tell him who the artist was that he was using it for. It turned out to be Beyonce, a Beyonce track that the producers sampled one of his like loop ideas kind of thing and put that out. So he didn't work directly with Beyonce.
Oh, okay.
Even though he's
Interesting.
credited as that, but it was like samples and compositions that he made specifically for producers to use, and then it got picked up and used in a big way. So
Yeah. I would consider that still working with,
yeah.
I mean, it might be semantics that we're arguing,
Yeah.
but awesome for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good stuff. He's hitting his goals.
Yeah, definitely.
He's doing cool stuff with cool people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He said, like you said earlier, like he was still work on his own ideas in the meantime. And we're like, oh yeah, that'd be good for El Michels Affair. And then he'd just like, ended up giving it away to one of these producers, and they'd use it in some other track or something like that. So it it took a while for him to get this together.
It doesn't seem like he's in a hurry.
He's got a lot going on. He also is a family man. He has like 3 children now and stuff like that. So
is he married?
yeah, I think he's married and he has 3 kids.
Good for him.
He bought a house recently, I think.
Congratulations.
In upstate New York or something.
Beautiful this time of year.
Yeah, is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I've never
You've
been
never
there.
been out. It's the fall. Yeah, like so, and he said like lockdown was a big thing, because he couldn't collaborate with people in the way that he had been for like a while, sort of thing. So he kind of just focused on his family life and gardening. He said for a bit as well. But 2020 Adult Themes is an album that he put out on Big Crown Records. First new material in 15 years.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, I love it as well. It's it is inspired by soundtracks, film soundtracks.
Yeah, library music.
Yeah, library music. Kind of similar to I think another artist we talked about where they have, or a few artists where they have like the imaginary film in their head and they create the soundtrack for it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
He said he listened to like some French soundtracks that these certain composers had done for like horror films and stuff like that. And the thing that intrigued him about it was all these like sort of unfinished melodies or little things that were like musically sounded unfinished but were clearly intended to go with visuals, like to enhance a mood or a moment in the film, sort of thing.
Right.
So that was like part of the inspiration for some of the compositions on this album, Adult Themes.
Yeah, the whole thing is it's tightly composed jazz and funk compositions.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And orchestral, right? There's some orchestral.
I think there's orchestral elements in there, if I remember, if that's the right album I'm thinking of,
Yeah. He said he thought the music sounded adult, whatever that means, he said. He said he also likes adult themes sounds sort of provocative.
Yeah, no, well, I was reading some reviews and stuff, and people were saying like low-key baby making music.
Well, let's hear some of this. I like this track.
Yeah, we haven't played that many tracks. Let's play another track.
This is called Villa from Adult Themes. Villa from Adult Themes by Michels Affair. He said for that song, it was like 4 guys in the room with headphones on looking at each other like, what should we do next?
As they were playing?
Before they did it. And they were like, I don't remember who came up with what. All I know is that once we decided we were going to record a song, we had Villa 40 minutes later. So,
damn.
But again, I think like, you know, he took whatever they came up with in that room and then later chopped it a little bit.
Chopped and spliced.
Yeah, and did some things in Pro Tools. Minced it.
Chopped.
Yeah.
I already said that one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of cooking.
Sliced. Blended.
Blended.
Pureed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just pureed the bass.
Yeah.
We chopped the drums.
Did you really have to puree the bass? No, it just sounds like nothing.
So muddy, bro.
It's so muddy.
Okay. But Adult Themes, great all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, I could just sit here and play that whole album, to be honest with you. And that was like, you know, that was a good track, but there's a lot of moments in that album that are like a little bit more organic feeling or whatever. Or like,
yeah.
Like I thought that one was a little bit loopy-ish at the beginning and stuff like that.
It was a vibe though.
But it's definitely a vibe.
It's meant to be, you know, baby making music.
Yeah, but that's a wonderful album. Wonderful album.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And there's no vocals on that one.
No.
There is some vocals on the 2 Wu-Tang collaborations.
Right.
And then I think there's some vocals on this next album. Is that right?
There definitely is, yeah. So, well, before he did Yeti's Season, which is his most recent release, 2021, he's continued to produce. He produced this album by this guy called Liam Bailey. It was an album called Ikundayo. Featured it on The Drop a while ago. Nice. There's a post about Liam Bailey on the Signl website as well about his new album. It's a reggae album. It's like a singer-songwriter reggae album, which is interesting to me. Leon produced it, so, but it's not like it's not funky. It's more reggae. But the way he produced it was kind of, he took a lot of inspiration from like Lee Scratch Perry and stuff like that, and those sort of old dub and reggae records to produce the drum sounds and stuff like that. And so he did end up reinterpreted the album that he produced as Michels Affair and put it out called Incundeo Inversions. So it's like a whole Michels reinterpretation album of an album he produced, which is, so he's done reinterpretations of Wu-Tang and now he's doing reinterpretations of an artist that he's produced some other work for, kind of thing. It was very interesting. So
that's what's interesting, because he's not like hell bent on coming up with original music for himself or his audience.
Yeah.
He came out with one album and then he's like, I'm going to do 2 collaboration albums with one band.
Yeah.
Group.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And then years down the line, I'll do one more.
Yeah.
Like literally 15 years after the one original music LP dropped. 15 years later does another one.
Yeah.
And then the very next year does another one.
Yeah.
2021 is Yeti Season.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of interesting. Like,
yeah, I think he's like, he's getting a bit of more of a work. Also, I think like the more he releases with Michels Affair and the more people like it, the more people want to hear from Michels Affair.
Yeah.
Versus him have to do other things for income, like other musical projects and stuff like that.
I guess that's what I'm kind of getting at. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just it's weird to come out with one album of your own and then not do it again for 15 years, but continue to work on, you know,
the name,
still
the
being
moniker.
dedicated. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he could have released those under Wu-Tang, under their name or under a separate name.
Yeah.
Side project type deal or something, but you know, I don't know, just something to point out.
I think you know, he's someone that like, I think when you work a lot with other people as a musician or as a producer, there's a lot of compromise involved in all of that, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you're there to serve, you know, someone else's artistic needs or outlook. Like with Lana Del Rey, you know, they were there to really, that's why there was a bit of a tension there, because they're ultimately she's the artist, and they were there to serve, whatever her solo project is going to be, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to El Michels Affair, his own project, he doesn't have to do that. He's free to explore whatever he wants to explore, and still having to have a job, pay your bills, have a family is like not always possible.
No, yeah, it's kind of like I have my hand in here and I have my hand in the cookie jar.
Like he said it was kind of like not so like, because during lockdown, all his family was at home, sort of thing. So it was like, I can't just go to the studio and like do stuff, kind of thing. So he has to snatch those moments away to like go off and make some music, kind of thing.
Right.
Like,
and speaking of which, like we're talking about Yeti season.
Yeah.
What is that about? Why is there Yeti? What season is it? But this was lockdown.
There was one little story where he dressed up in a Yeti costume.
Well, that's what I was gonna tell the story, but okay, I guess you can tell the story.
No. I think you know it. I think you know it better than me.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know it. You're gonna fill in the gaps when I.
Was that I thought
obviously don't know that
there was
much
a question, but there was actually a rhetorical question.
No, I was just leading myself up into my own answer. I was.
Go ahead. What happened?
I'm totally just kidding around, but like it was lockdown.
Yeah.
Kids are home because he's a family man, and times are tough. Like everyone's experiencing this. How to get your own alone time? How to feel like you're making progress with what you want to make progress while you're dealing with these other different aspects of your life, because you love both ends. Yeah. But how do you get both done at the same time? Yeah. That's the question we're all kind of trying to deal with all the time, or at least we can all we can experience a little bit. That thing's still cranking.
Yeah,
I hear the artifacts in the audio, so it freaks me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was like a cold, snowy, fall or winter time afternoon, probably like a Sunday afternoon, I'm imagining, and he had some time and he wanted to do something fun, so he dressed up like Yeti. I mean, fill in the gaps because I don't really know this story that well. I don't know what you know. We don't talk about this before we record.
That's all I know. He chased his kids around the backyard dressed in a Yeti costume.
And so I saw it was one of the moments that he felt really proud of.
Yeah.
He was like, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
I made a cool experience with my kids.
Yeah.
And I had a good time, and I think that I made a good memory for them.
Yeah.
And it was all good energy.
Yeah.
And so basically that was just kind of the energy that kind of sparked his ideas.
Yeah.
And he kind of as his muse type of thing.
Yeah.
And then followed that into making his music. And I don't know, he went into the studio, made a track that was kind of influenced by these vibes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then kind of followed that rabbit hole down until he had a whole album worth of music.
Yeah.
And that became Yeti season.
That's about it.
Is that about it? Okay. That's the story I was going to tell.
He began the album though, all the tracks for the album in 2018. So before.
So he was working on some stuff beforehand.
Yeah, like tracks here and there. He said he cut 2 tracks with the vocalist that appears on this album, Pia Malik. And she's a singer of a band 79.5, and also she's in Say She, which is interesting. We got to check those out. I'm interested to check those out. He said initially the first 2 songs I did with Pia, it was a total one-off. Had no intention of making a full record, and it became the scaffolding that you would actually eventually build the album around.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, I think it offers Yeti Seasons a different kind of drama.
Yeah.
Than what El Michels Affair has offered up until that point.
Yeah,
I think there's some like Mumbai-esque.
Yeah.
Take on stuff, Turkish styled funk.
Yeah. He said he was listening to a lot of Turkish psych folk rock.
I mean, come on.
He mentioned a couple artists, Barris Manco and Erkin Kore. We got to check those people out.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm getting more hip to psych rock and psych things in general. Psych
whatever. Is everything.
It is everything.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but the fact that there's this Turkish psych is like, what the hell's that? Like,
it's only Turkish because it's a faraway land.
Yeah,
But
which
it's-
makes it interesting. It's like,
Yeah.
because psych is already a type of music that's kind of out there and experimental, and then you add like a different culture and a different aesthetic
And then
approach.
it's something new.
Yeah, it's something new, and you can hear that in some of these tracks. Like, and we'll just play one.
Let's. Yeah.
You'll hear it a lot in this one. I played this on the drop at this point, many moons ago. But
Check out the drop though. Good.
yeah,
Self-curated by J. Purcell.
Yeah.
Brand new music coming out.
brand new releases. So when this was newly released, it came out on the drop. So check out the drop. This is another album to own on vinyl, people.
It is. I would highly recommend that.
Yeah.
We gotta get that one. We gotta get this for the studio.
Yeah, we do. This would be great to have in the studio. Yeah, all these like that weird outro and stuff like that. You know, it's nice.
Yeah. The ambiance.
Leon says, I'll probably never make another record like this. I like the idea of Michels Affair becoming just an outlet to do different shit and weird shit and stuff that interests me.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
It seems like that's what he's interested in. He doesn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
just like, I'm trying to do this for me, my own music.
Yeah.
He's like, he wants to work with other people.
Yeah.
He wants to get his ideas out there
Yeah.
and see what happens. Like he's just experimenting
Yeah.
as he goes, and that's kind of his thing. And that's really cool.
I think it's a long process as well, because that track we played earlier, Villa, apparently, after they recorded it, he said it sat for a long time because he didn't know what to do with it. So there is like a lot of post-processing things and stuff that he does after these jams are recorded, where he flips them and turns them into like their final thing that you hear on the record kind of thing, which is interesting. He said he said also the first day they recorded 5 songs, which they made up on the spot. One of them was Villa. So, so he did those 2 tracks with Pia, thinking they were one-offs, and then he did 5 tracks in one day, just from jams with the musicians, kind of thing. So that's already 7 tracks right there. There was like another song that he said he was inspired by Francois de Roubaix. I think we've mentioned him before or something. Francois de Roubaix.
Maybe.
He had this one song called Dernier Demoiselle Connue. I'm trying to my French thing. He said it's been like sampled a shit ton by people like Missy Elliott and Lana Del Rey and Kid Cudi. But he said it starts with a percussion loop and a cello thing. So he wanted to try and recreate that vibe in one of those songs. And so he created like that same vibe in Ableton, actually, just by himself, kind of thing. Which was the essence of one of the tracks. So yeah, again, like he's experimenting and doing different things and not just doing the same process or workflow every time, kind of thing.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Constant exploration.
Yeah,
wanting to do different things, working with different people, trying different perspectives.
He listens a lot as well. It's like, because some people asked him, like, do you provide like sheet music to other musicians that are coming in with you? And he's like, no, I just play like a certain record that I'm into. And we're like, let's recreate that vibe.
Yeah.
Like, and he'll maybe explain it a bit more. He's like, listen to how the horns do this, or how the drums sit here, and how this whole thing is coming together, kind of thing. It's like, let's try and emulate that. Like on some of the stuff that he did with Liam Bailey as well, he said that, I said earlier he was listening to like Lee Scratch Perry and some like old dub records and stuff like that, and he said he did this one thing where he put some instruments through a phaser, and he accidentally put the drums through a phaser effect as well, but it created this sound that was exactly like he'd heard on these old records. And he was like, I'm keeping that, kind of thing. And then he realized, like, a lot of these it's like, I don't really understand phasing, when people say things are out of phase and all that. It's very, like, engineer recording terms sort of thing. But he went on to say that if you listen to these old, like, reggae dub records, like, the drums were out of phase the whole time. Like, so it was kind of like a mistake that these guys did, but they left it in there. And it's created this inspirational sound now. There's like an earmark of those records, kind of thing, and he discovered how to sort of do that through his own mistake. He discovered how to create that effect, kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Phasing's weird.
Yeah, I think it's just like this weird. I don't quite get it. It's like I think it's like 2 audio signals canceling each other out, kind of.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah,
and it creates this weird hole in the sound. Or something like that.
Like something's not coming through, or
yeah.
coming in and out, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a music scientist.
Yeah.
Kind of am, but unprofessional.
An unprofessional music scientist. Yeah. That's your title.
That's my official
on your
title.
Roots to Grooves business card.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to get business cards.
Yeah. So we can give them out with the QR code.
Yeah. For the show.
For
free.
For free. You can get a free business card. Because back in the day, we used to sell business cards to, I'm just joking. I don't want to.
Do you want to buy my business card? I don't know what the problem with phasing is. If there's something that's wrong, then why can't you re-record it? Because I've come across artists that are like, that track was out of phase. We lost it forever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
that's something I didn't bring up.
You know what it's supposed to sound like, and you have the track, just re-record what needs to be re-recorded.
Yeah.
And do it.
I mean, it depends what's going on. I don't know. Like, as somebody who didn't mention on our last episode with Deer Hunter, like, apparently he had it's not Brandon. It's Mr. Cox.
Bradshaw?
We've already lost his name.
Bradford
of Mr. Bradford Cox of Deer Hunter fame. Yeah, he said like I think on the second album or something like that, he was in the studio and they were recording to tape, and he heard all these weird warping issues, and he said no one will believe him in the studio. People told him like he doesn't know what he's talking about, And he was like, but I heard it and it doesn't sound right. It sounds fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
so, there's difference.
No, I've experienced that. Like you hear that weird little tinging sound or something.
Yeah.
And other people don't notice it.
Yeah.
And that's it. It just goes to show how we all experience essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Or literally the same thing. We experience it differently.
Yeah.
And what's the answer? Like, it's anything goes. We just all have different bodies.
Well, I think
we
sometimes
learned how to perceive things in a different way.
Yeah. I think sometimes in studios, like, people are attaching themselves to the wrong causes, or in any musical situation. If someone has a problem with something, it's like, is it really a problem, or are you making it a problem? Like,
That's what I think. People get so wrapped up in like, I'm a engineer and I heard something weird and we can't use that whole track. We have to waste that whole day.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's something like Leon says about recording drums. He said there's like there's two ways of recording drums. There's a clean way, or there's the interesting way. And he said the interesting way is usually better, and it usually only involves like 1 or 2 microphones, kind of thing.
which goes to show, you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I mean, just like he's a less is more. He's more about like the sound and the vibe.
Yeah.
And the retroness of it and the imperfection of it. That creates that quality that is seductive and interesting.
Exactly. I think that's a good word. That's way more seductive.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's anything.
Yeah.
If you vibe with it, then that's the magic.
Exactly, yeah.
Go towards that.
Yeah.
Follow that.
Yeah.
I got nothing else. I mean,
on that note.
On that note.
Is it a note though?
It's whatever you want it to be, Jay.
I think that note was out of phase.
We're gonna have to cut this whole episode out.
Yeah, just the whole episode now.
Yeah, what a waste.
This whole episode was out of phase.
Yeah, why isn't that a term? Like, that shit was out of phase, bro.
That's out of phase.
We'll see.
That's
we'll make
phasing.
it happen.
That's phasing.
You phased, bro.
Yeah, that's your phase.
You phasing. You out of phase.
You're out of phase.
I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna start it.
Yeah.
You heard it here first on Roots to Grooves.
Yeah.
Okay.
If someone's being whack, they're out of phase.
Yeah.
Or no, not whack. I don't know.
No, yeah. Whack, out of phase.
Is being out of phase a good thing?
I think it's either really bad or really good. Like,
So
bro, hey, you need to calm down. You're out of phase, bro. Or like, this shit is tight, bro. That is out of phase.
Context. It's all about context.
Yeah.
All right,
and
got it.
Such is life.
Yeah. And the English language.
Mm-hmm.
Got to use certain phrases and terms in context.
It's all communication.
Yeah. Just don't read it as a tweet because, shit gets taken out of context all the time.
Yeah, tweets are touchy.
Jokes and sarcasm does not work.
Don't joke on the internet.
You can't read something, like if someone writes something sarcastically, most people will not read it sarcastically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you read it sarcastically.
I'm out of phase.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm deleting Roots to Grooves.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
Unfollow.
Cancelled.
Roots to Grooves is canceled. We hope we're canceled because
I'm
that
gonna
means we're
hit the
doing something
cancel
right.
button. There's like, retweet, cancel.
Yeah. Cancel us if you dare. We bring it on.
That's been Roots to Grooves, episode 50 something.
That's all I got on Michels Affair. It's been quite an affair today with you, Jay.
It's been quite an affair.
I love it. This was a good pick by you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good stuff.
I like it.
This guy's talented.
I love adult themes so much that I'm going to randomly play out with a track that I probably haven't heard before.
Okay, I'm down. That's all we got. I guess we're closing out.
Yeah.
We're going to do a random track by Jay off Adult Themes 2020.
Yeah.
This has been Roots to Grooves. I'm Jesse.
I'm Jay.
If you guys want to hit us up with any corrections or anything cool about Michels Affair, cool facts, fun figures, corrections we got wrong, hit us up at the email.
rootstogrooves@signalradio.com, SIGNL radio.com. And we'll drop a comment on YouTube.
That helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're here for you guys. We're here with you to learn and to grow. Appreciate you guys.
I'm going to kill the lights with the song from Leon Michels Affair called Kill the Lights.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signl Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's signl radio.com.